Welcome to the Stumbling Spirit, Contemplations on the Path of Resilience. Whether you realize it or not, you are resilient. It's your birthright. As you take in your next breath, know this truth. It's not only about your capacity to overcome difficult situations, but it's about your courage to do the necessary work to heal, learn, grow, and move forward. What you gain is invaluable wisdom. And it's through these hard stumbles in life that we often discover a new purpose that aligns with our spirit. My name is Fabio da Silva Fernandez, Reiki Master, Mindfulness Coach, and Mystical Explorer. Join me as the Stumbling Spirit podcast highlights the lives of extraordinary people like you, sharing transformative stories and beneficial practices of resilience to guide you on your wellness journey. My next guest and I share quite a bit in common. After a long career in the tech industry, Carla Affe left her prominent position as a sales account manager during the pandemic to start her own wellness practice that focuses on Reiki, mindfulness meditation, and complementary modalities such as reflexology and aromatherapy. Today, Carla joins me to talk about what inspired her to shift from software sales to holistic wellness. We will also delve into the world of energy care and explore why balancing our chakras and raising our vibration are essential in this era of radical change and collective transformation. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show holistic practitioner and owner of Pure Life Healing, Carla Affe. Hello, Carla.
Hello.
It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's a great opportunity to talk to you, Fabio.
So I mentioned off the top that you left your career, very secure
hmm
career in tech sales, and decided to start your own venture in 2021, I believe. Is that right?
Correct.
Can you talk about your home life and work life prior to you starting your practice, and what inspired you to take that plunge to opening your own business?
So it was my side hustle for a long time. And Reiki found me, I could say 15 years ago. I was doing it and didn't know what I was doing. So just to give you an idea. And to everyone out there, sometimes things come to us, and I discovered I had a long line lineage of healing in my family. My great great grandmother. So my dad told me that his grandmother was the village chiropractor in Sicily, and my mom as well. So my mom's Reiki woke up when I started doing Reiki 15, 14 years ago. So as you create this side hustle, things coming up, opportunities come up, people coming up to you saying, you should do this course, you should do this. They go, what you're doing right now is Reiki. I'm like, it's Reiki? Oh, I had no idea what it was. And and there's a lot of novices out there who are doing it and don't really realize that energy healing of Reiki. It's incredible when you start talking to people and opening up and not hiding, because some people hide their gifts. And I wasn't hiding. So in the corporate world, I had my side hustle doing my courses. I had that time, I had two young children, my husband, my fur baby, and my parents, my family, very busy, volunteering. Like I was crazy, crazy busy, but my passion kept surfacing and I had to do it. Going, it's not leaving me. I have to do it. And part of me was like, I can't do this. I'm going to burn out. So I had incredible support from my husband, from the kids saying, Mom, you got to keep doing it. And that's where, essential oils came in and working with aromatherapy, working with people. And it was hilarious. In the boardroom, I'd have my little Mary Poppins bag with oils. And we would talking about one thing we're talking about their needs, and next thing like, Carla, what kind of oils do you have today? Here we go. And I lived in the car. I drove a lot. I was on the road. I was a salesperson on the road. And it took a lot. And it just perseverance and just working really hard to what you really wanted to. Because I knew eventually I would leave. And I say, okay, universe, I need a lovely package. I need to get out of the circus and come back to my soul self. And that grounding really, really helped, really felt comfortable going, okay. And that's what helped me perpetuate and keep doing the sales because I was a like high level salesperson doing the six figures, getting used to that kind of income. And it's very hard to leave that kind of environment. But that stress of being a zero one day and a hero the next, that constant stress and that constant, level of, I can't keep this up. I can't breathe. But I think I loved the people and I loved what I did. And I had to do it for my kids, my family, going, we need that income until at the point that, okay, we can live without income. And you grow and you change, saying, okay, what do I want and what do I need? And I think we all go through those levels. And at that pandemic, really, and I think a lot of people went through that. Okay, what can I do without and what can I move through? And that's when my passion took over and I left it. And I left the corporate world.
I want to talk about the pandemic in a second, but
Sure.
there's something that you said, you know, I never did sales, but I always understood sales to be you're only as good as your last sale, and you're always having to meet these targets. So there's like a lot of pressure, and the contrast between that high pressure job and doing something that is based on wellness, on holistic wellness, on pampering the body, self care, all of that stuff. So I find it very fascinating. So I wanted to sort of explore that a little bit more with you. So you said that you decided to explore your spirituality, these different modalities, in some ways because you were inspired by the history of your ancestors. And so I'm wondering about like how you approached it in the beginning. Was it just like things that you just wanted to do for yourself, or was it something that you thought, okay, well, I want to help other people? Like, what was the thinking around that? And where were you at that point in your life 15 years ago?
Wow, 15 years ago, again, I was a very successful salesperson. I had two young children, and this stuff was coming up, and I couldn't ignore it. And when you're looking at that, going, okay, it's not leaving me, and stuff was happening, and sometimes the universe will slap you a couple of times, and realizing, going, okay, I need to pursue this, and it was personal. I had no idea what it was going to come up with, but at the same time, I think it was like parallel, right? You have people coming up to you saying, so, what are you doing? And I'm like, and I hid it for quite a while. I hid in corporate, I hid it a lot. People had no idea what we was doing. I was disappearing for weeks on end from courses. I went to England to do my angelic Reiki master program. I was gone for 3 weeks. I left my kids, I left my family, and I missed their birthdays. And it was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I going across the world to do this angelic Reiki course? But it was a calling, and I had to do it. And I came back. I didn't go off and say, okay, I'm going to be a healer now. No, it was a process. And when you're going into healing, you have to allow and I didn't know that then. I had no idea. And it took me a long time. It took about a year to 2 years until I was able to integrate and add other things. And again, it took me like maybe, I would say 6, 7 years later when I started adding raindrop technique, which is a body work. I added reflexology, was again a body work on the feet, hands, and cranium, ears. These came evolved later, you're adding on other modalities because you're realizing people are responding to you as a healer, responding, but again, you're working with them. And for me and my family, it was like a journey. And people don't realize that. And I've known a lot of people who stop the healing, stop the Reiki, they're going, I can't do this. It's just too much. It's a journey. And things that you do today, if you don't realize what happened again 14, 15 years ago, it's all about what we decide to do.
So, part of the reason why I wanted to circle back to the beginning of that journey for you is because when I started doing my mindfulness and Reiki, it was only just for me. Like, I never thought in a million years that I would start my own business doing that stuff. Like I was just doing it for me, for my self-healing. I was helping other people, not charging people anything. I was just doing it because it was something that, I was learning, developing, and that I cared about. And then, like you, during the pandemic, it was a wake-up call. And so you talked a little bit about the pandemic. So I wanted to know, what was it about the pandemic that inspired you to just go in full throttle?
Good question. When we were like, and I was in corporate sales at that time, and we had to go home, and Zoom became our life, and then all the cracks started showing up, and I was like, interesting. I'm like, okay, do I want to continue being in this space? And it's just, and you started feeling the exhaustion, that sadness, and people were so disconnected and they didn't know what to do. So during that time, I was all of a sudden scripting meditations, and I didn't know I could do that. And I was offering free meditations on Zoom through Facebook. And I was doing it like every single night. And my Zoom, and it was for free. I was offering it for free. And I was just scripting stuff just by the fly. It was hilarious. Like I had 30, 40 scripts I was putting through. And it was just coming through. I was channeling like crazy. And I had my evenings were like monopolized. And I had 16 to 20 different people every single night populating my meditations. And I realized going, okay, I got to do this full time. The need was so great that people had that need and they didn't know where to go. And I guess they trusted me. And it was just fascinating to watch how it was unfolding. I'm like, okay, there's something here. I can go full time and let's just move this. And when I was doing my very first, I was actually subletting a small little room. I think I was sharing with five other people the sublet, and I was one day a week, and my day was full. And I was like, hey, I could do this full time. And my Reiki, I was charging like nothing. And my husband was telling me, you got to charge more. Like it's all about energy exchange. And I think it's been like 5 years full time doing this. And like I realized, like, okay, I got to charge better. But anyways, different conversation. But it was amazing to see the shift. Going, I need to do this full time. This, and I need to get rid of the circus. Even though I loved what I did, but like, I've had enough. I've been doing this for 15 years as a corporate salesperson in that organization. I'm done.
I had a very similar experience as you. And it just made me think, like back then they were talking about the great resignation, how a lot of people were just like leaving their jobs, leaving their secure careers and starting their own businesses, right? So this was a huge thing during the pandemic. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts are around whether the pandemic triggered an awakening for many people.
Definitely. People realized what I remember the very first 6 weeks, everyone was home and we didn't know what this was. And I could see it was a reset. And you had executives, really people who I knew, executives home doing woodworking, you know, making meals and doing incredible, lavish, giving themselves on Facebook or on Zoom or on YouTube. And I saw this unfolding of people lifting because we are intended, that human consciousness, we are intended for art, music, poetry, like just moving that beautiful being harmonious with our soul selves. And that during the pandemic woke a lot of people. It was incredible how it unfolded, and I'm sure you saw the same thing.
It's funny, there's something that you said, and I completely agree with you. We were built for creation. And if we're not in a space of creation, we are actually preventing ourselves from being our true selves, what we've been created to be as humans. So I wanted to sort of explore holistic work a little bit more with you. So when I think about it as a spiritual practice, right? And you talked about your spiritual journey and you also talked about your ancestors. I'm just curious, what was the first modality that you learned that you were attracted to that sort of moved you in this direction?
The very first one was Usui Reiki, level one. And because I was doing Reiki, I didn't know what I was doing. I had my mentor at the time. It was who actually reported to my husband, and she was very spiritual. And she was poking holes saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I'm like, whoa. So when you have someone very enlightened showing up at your doorstep, sometimes you'll either shut the door or you'll welcome it. And I slowly welcomed it. I'm like, okay, I have nothing to lose. Why not? And it was wild. It opened up so many doors as soon as I did my level one.
So I want to talk about angelic Reiki, but I just want, for my listeners, I just want to sort of ground them foundationally in terms of understanding what Reiki is, just at a really super high level. To my listeners, the word Reiki comes from Japanese kanji, and it's a combination of spiritual wisdom or rei and life force energy, which is ki. Others might know ki as chi or prana. They're all the same thing. Reiki is a form of energy healing medicine and intuitive practice that was developed over 100 years ago by a Japanese mystic called Mikao Usui. And it's a sacred knowledge that since then has been passed down from teacher to student over generations. There are now over 150 lineages of Reiki, and Reiki practitioners are attuned to be able to channel source energy to clear and balance the energy system or chakras within the body for themselves and other people. And it has a wide range of wellness benefits, including stress reduction and physical relaxation, among other things. So that's just the foundational understanding of what Reiki is. And I'm wondering, Carla, if you have something else to share in relation to Reiki in terms of what it is.
Yeah. You can call it energy medicine. And that energy medicine and bringing your body back home, back to balance, and lifting those garbage bags up and bringing you back to your breath and understanding and what that energy looks like also because it's love. And that energy healing is love and reminding you that you are love. And that's what we're sharing. And we're being attuned and channeled, and anyone can do it. You just have to want to do it and be open to receiving that level of frequency, that level of love, that intuitive, because we are all intuitive beings. We are all in that consciousness.
That's such a great point. We individually are energy generators. This is another aspect. So Reiki can be done hands-on, but could also be done at a distance, and they're equally as effective. But this is the idea of the fact that we are energy generators, and that when we're practicing Reiki, when we're channeling that source energy, that we're able to direct it across space and time. And so that is a very important concept within Reiki as well. I wanted to highlight something. The National Library of Medicine, so this is published research that they have on their website. They published research showing that, quote, Reiki is better than placebo in activating the parasympathetic nervous system as measured by reduced heart rate, reduced blood pressure, and increased heart rate variability. For patients with chronic health conditions, Reiki has been found to be more effective than a placebo for reducing pain, anxiety, and depression, and for improving self-esteem and quality of life. According to the neurovisceral integration model and the polyvagal theory, these effects are due to higher parasympathetic nervous system activity mediated via the vagus nerve. This understanding suggests that Reiki has the potential to provide valuable support for a broad range of chronic health conditions. However, it states, There is no justification to regard Reiki as a cure for any health condition. Instead, Reiki should be regarded as a complementary therapy that can be implemented alongside all other medical and therapeutic techniques. End quote. Do you have any thoughts on this research?
Definitely. And you can see it, it's changed over the years, especially in the medical world. For example, in Toronto, the Odette Center, which is a cancer care for cancer patients, and they actually have a Reiki department, I should call it. But a lot of Reiki masters go and volunteer their time. It's grown tremendously, and it's wonderful. A lot of cancer patients can take advantage of free Reiki services through the Odette Center, for example, or you can go to a lot of old age homes, for example, long-term care facilities who are bringing Reiki masters in. And it's wonderful to see how the change has happened over the years. And people are more and more open to it. And yes, there are the odd persons who think it's voodoo. It's not. And also going into palliative care. If you're looking at people passing, going into hospices where they're looking for Reiki masters to go into the hospices. And again, that's another going, if you want to go into death doula, for example. But it's a wonderful evolution of where Reiki is going to. And it's wonderful. I know in the UK, for example, it's hand in hand. It's right there. In Canada, it's slowly getting there. It's there, but I think we just need another push where the medical world will embrace it. And it should be hand in hand to help that individual cope. And it's part of their, like, what is your toolbox? Also part of your strategy. So yes, you've got the medical piece, but you also have that spiritual piece because we, again, as intuitive beings, to help us receive that love and to see where our journey should be going to. And that Reiki will give us that clarity that we're seeking. And sometimes when we're going through horrible moments, our loved ones or ourselves, in that moment going, okay, what's really happening here, right? It could be a disease, it could be anything, but that Reiki will give you that clarity of what your next steps might look like.
So let's talk about angelic Reiki. So I mentioned earlier that there are 150, more than 150 lineages of Reiki, of which angelic Reiki is one of them. So can you explain what angelic Reiki is?
Angelic Reiki is unconditional love, pure and simple. You are a vessel. So in Usui Reiki or Usui Holy Fire Reiki. So let's go back a little bit. Usui Reiki and then Usui Holy Fire Reiki is the next generation of Reiki. Reiki is an evolution of energy healing or energy, pure energy. In angelic Reiki, we are working with the angelic kingdom. We are working with the ascended masters. But you become the vessel. You're holding space. You are not the healer. You're holding space, and the angelic kingdom comes in, or ascended masters come in, or even the beings of light, right? Beautiful beings of light can come in. It could be Andromedans, it could be the Palladians, the Orions. They can come in and work with you and work with that individual. Angelic Reiki is very ancient. We're going back to the Lemurian times, 100,000 years ago, Atlantean times, right? So angels and man and women were one, and they worked together at that time. And angelic Reiki is bringing it back, right? And it's a newer lineage. Kevin Core channeled it with Metatron, Archangel Metatron, in 2003. So it's considered new, but it's not. It's very ancient because Archangel Metatron brought it through to Kevin Core, who was in England, an English engineer, for God's sake. The man was an engineer. He started spirituality, started channeling, going, oh my God, I gotta do this. But it's over 100,000 years old, going back to the Lemurian and the Atlantean times.
I find energy medicine to be really intriguing to me on many different levels, right? Because although Mikao Usui developed a style of energy healing, this energy work has been around since the beginning of humanity, right? And so if you reflect upon the various religious traditions that exists out there, there is a form of energy healing that exists in all of those traditions, including Jesus with the healing of his hands, right? So this concept of healing has been around for a very long time. To my listeners, what are your thoughts on my chat with Carla Affe? I'd love to hear from you. Just DM me on Blue Sky at thestumblingspirit.bsky.social. I'm curious about how you define energy.
Energy is everything. Is everything you experience. That's energy. And it could be good or bad. It could be a tune stuck in your head. That's energy. A touch, a smile. That's energy, right? Someone looking at you. That's energy. Your tone of your voice. That's energy. How was that tone of that voice? That's all energy coming at frequency coming in. And even food is energy. What are we eating? Are we having that apple? Or are we having that burger from, McD's? Like, that's all energy. Low energy, high energy. That's all energy. The sun is energy. The moon brings us a different kind of energy. Light versus darkness. Like the evening sky gives another energy, right? It's all around us. It's all about our awareness of that energy.
That's a really good answer. Why is clearing and balancing our energy system important from a spiritual perspective?
I think of bringing back to our state of normal because people don't know what normal means. And when you're clearing the chakras and clearing your body, emotionally, spiritually, the four body systems, right? And basically being in that space and coming back and managing and maintaining that space of purpose. When I tell my clients when they get off the table, they realize, wow, I feel that peace. Like you're supposed to feel that way all the time. And they're like, really? Yeah, yeah. Because we're really hard on ourselves, right? We're always, I got to strive, I got to work, and I've got to stop, pause, and giving yourself the opportunity, that little healing, or just bringing yourself back to normal to help function in our earth, on our earth school that we live every day.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I kind of feel like we're living through some really tense and divisive times. And did you read the book Chasing Evil by any chance?
Oh, did not.
It's
That's
a really
interesting.
good book by psychic medium John Edward and ex FBI agent Robert Hilland. I just finished reading it.
Mhm.
And in the book, they examine the battle between good and evil through the lens of an investigator who is looking into some pretty heavy duty crimes. The reason I bring that up is it feels like what we're living through is it's all coming to the surface. Things are being revealed. We're seeing things as they are. And I feel like it's really caused these opposing forces to lock heads with one another, for a lack of a better term. So I'm wondering how we can tend to our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being in this process while remaining in the light.
Mm. How we're navigating the world today. So if you're going back in time, humanity's nature is love. And we've coexisted with the forces, the dark and the light. And the energy of separation, whose nature, that nature is about in coexistence, has been maintained for centuries of our time. It's altered our DNA. And a lot of us have become dependent on the chemicals, right? On the drama, on all that, right? And it's released into our makeup. and experiencing anger, fear, jealousy, resentment, lack of trust, suspicion. It's part of our addiction almost, right? It's like addicted to a cup of coffee or a cigarette smoke. And we're addicted to that level. So how do we just come back and look at fostering that awareness and that stream of consciousness saying, okay, I see that. I don't need to be there. And grounding ourselves back to the function of normal and going, okay, I can cope through this. What are your tools? How you can best manage the situation through breathing exercise or just, okay, taking a pause. And I see all this because there's so much happening right now. And people are waking up even more, right? With the Epstein files and all that stuff, all coming up. And the decency of humanity, we have it. It's the love that we are, that kindness. It's there. It's always been there. But the addiction keeps coming up. Suspicion, lack of trust, right? Listening to the news, listening to the media, how the media distorts and changes things like, oh, no, 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 no. And just for us, it's like a buffet. What are we going to partake today? And some days we can choose, no, I'm not going to consent to this. I don't need to be part of this. And we have that power to do that.
So I'm glad that you brought up the toolkit because I have access to my tools, mindfulness, Reiki to help ground me, going out in nature, breathing fresh air. But I've been finding it difficult to manage through my anger, if I'm really honest with you, just with everything that's going on. And so I'm wondering whether you have any tips for how people can work through anger that is coming up for them.
There's different things you can do. I think the first thing that came up was affirmations. I am a being of love. And creating reminders for yourself and putting them on your mirror and come back to that world. Because even as a practitioner, I agree with you, Fabio, is that we sometimes tend to forget because we our society and the stuff that's happening will take you over going, oh my God, what is happening? The world that I love, the world that's happening, my earth, there's so much happening. How do I come back to that space and really be in that space? And sometimes just grounding and going into nature is not going to do it. And I think we need to go deeper and maybe looking at different kinds of tools and different kinds of modalities. Number one is seeking a proper practitioner to help you come back. Because sometimes you need that practitioner where that practitioner is going to reach you where you're at, whether you're angry, frustrated, disappointed, whatever emotions are coming up, right? And sometimes, because with one thing is, if you don't deal with them, it's going to go into your cells, and it starts, and you start ruminating, and oh my God, I can't stop, right? And I think pausing is huge. The power of pause is huge by itself, and listening and following, going back to your mindfulness, and as you're mindfully eating. But I really believe having a practitioner getting you back to point zero, back to a normal function. And then from there, going, okay, what are the tools that are working? What's working? What's not working? Am I journaling? Ah, that's not working. Maybe I can do a deconstructive journal. Actually, buying a brand new book, big or small, whatever you decide you want, and start drawing pastels, paint, sticking glitter glue, coffee stains. You're really angry? Coffee stains. Take your book, ride it over with your bicycle, right? People start laughing. It's true. Deconstructive journal is one amazing way of channeling and really seeing and just putting one word on that deconstructive journal. That's another way of doing and working through that feeling, right? And seeking community, because I really believe it. The biggest tip is seeking community and avoiding the feeding of the fear, the anger, the disappointment. You need to move beyond it. Yes, I see you. Yes, I see this anger. I see this ruminating move and trying to move beyond it and raising that frequency and just being in that space and being with other people who are love, who are going to feed that back into you. Because if you're with other people who are feeding, like, oh, I can't believe this happened, you see it on the news, stop. Find other people in your circle that are like, oh, like that smile, that hug, basic things that are going to bring you back into your body and back to your breath and say, oh, okay, and just feel human again.
I really liked what you said, the affirmations, the journaling, finding community, and also accessing a practitioner if you're having challenges working through your anger or whatever it is that you're working through. I really love those suggestions. One thing I neglected to mention is prayer, which is huge, and it's been an amazing source of calm and meditation as well. Some people might not view the connection between prayer and meditation, but I totally see a connection in terms of how it makes me feel. And so that is also another way that people can channel what they're feeling. I always feel differently from, before I start my prayer to the end of my prayer. And if prayer isn't your thing, the affirmations, or you could do them both together. If that's better for you, then go for that.
Definitely. And that's amazing what you mentioned about prayer meditation. Another thing is amazing opportunities when you just first wake up, that little time, but you're not fully awake and you're not conscious yet. That moment in time, and just a quick intention, a meditation, a prayer, and just say, my intention today is to unfold with ease, flexibility, and love the whole day. And whatever intention you'd like to do at that moment in time, just before you just get out of bed and just being in that space. But meditation and prayer, and it doesn't have to be long. It could be 2 minutes, 5 minutes, definitely 5 minutes. Thank you for reminding me. And it's a huge part of my life every day. Is and also one thing I forgot to mention is that going back to that power of pause. And I would suggest this biggest tip is 3 to 4 times a day do a meeting with your soul self, a meeting with yourself, and taking that pause, whether it's meditation, whether it's a prayer, or just creating a new intention, and just taking 2 minutes, have that cup of coffee or tea or whatever you or that candle, and just be in that space, no matter what's happening around you, and just stop. And that practice, I learned that last year, 4 or 5, 3 times a day, that practice is just huge, just adopting it and learning with it, leaning into it can also help bring down that fear and that anger and disappointment that you're feeling or whatever comes up at that moment in time.
I love that. Developing a ritual, so important, a daily ritual that will inject these moments of mindfulness within yourself, but also connecting with spirit and grounding us in the space of tranquility. It's not to say that those emotions will necessarily go away, but they'll definitely dissipate, and you'll be able to elevate other emotions like love that are more beneficial for the body and for the spirit. This is actually a great segue. Why is elevating our vibration essential, both individually and for the collective, in this age of major change?
It's a different form of healing. Healing comes in different forms, right? Creating that energy, that frequency, and it's because we are all one and it ripples into the collective consciousness. Opening the door for a stranger, smiling to a stranger. If you're at a cafe and you see someone, sitting there, just you don't know what's happening, but you can sense that frequency, like, oh my God, they're having a bad day. And you can say, are you okay? well, I hope your day's okay. Just small little things that raising, again, that's part of raising your frequency. And it's not that difficult to do. And as we create learning and being in that space, because we are all sentient beings, we're fostering that community. And people go, well, how does that mean? You're fostering that community in all that way, and that's and creating that memory, that moment in time, and how we are able to be that pillar of light that the other person needed at that moment in time. Again, raising that frequency through breath, through walking, through talking, just looking at that person or just looking at yourself and just being and not being afraid to be with other people.
I really do like that. And I also like how you talked about smiling. So, with every single moment, there's an opportunity for us to choose to vibe high or vibe low. And it can happen at any single moment of the day. One of the things that came to mind, which is a really good way to elevate vibration, is gratitude. I think it is very easy in a daily routine to inject moments of gratitude to really appreciate the abundance in our lives. And abundance comes in many different forms. And so, it's just a way of being able to center and also thank people. That's the other thing. Take some time not only for gratitude, but to thank people for the gifts that they bring into your life, including their very presence. It doesn't actually have to be something big. Just the fact that someone is present in your life is a moment of thanks and gratitude. And that is also something that we can incorporate to elevate that vibration.
Fabio, a very good point you just mentioned. But also, what about receiving? And there's many, many of us, even practitioners, are not open to receiving. Receive being thanked. Receive. They go, oh, it's nothing. Oh, it's nothing. No, it's something. Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Receive the help. People are not open to receiving, right? And if you're looking for a pen and someone gives you a pen and you're like, oh, I'm looking in my purse. I'm looking for, I'm like, receive the pen. Receive the door being opened for you. There was a long time ago during my corporate days where people go through drive through Tim Hortons, the drive through, and they would pay it forward, the toonie. And it was wonderful. And that chain happened all day. And at least a couple times a week, people would do that. And all of a sudden, it just stopped because one person decided not to receive that opportunity, that cup of coffee that the person in front of them received. So I think receiving is a really big deal in our society, and people need to be more open to receiving, right? Just like has how being grateful, but and giving.
I love what you just said. You know what I thought about was compliments. How people resist compliments. Like when you say to someone, "Oh, you look great today," or even I'll just put myself in this position. If someone were to compliment me, like depending on what it is, like sometimes I might say thank you, but I know that there have been times where I'm like, no, yeah, that's too much. That's not true, or whatever, right? And so I think that sometimes we can get ourselves in a position of resisting receiving. And I don't know if it's a fact of our culture that we live in Western society, or I don't know what it is, but that is such an excellent point that you raised.
Yeah. Because you're sharing love and that person is rejecting love. That's like love comes in different forms.
What does resilience mean to you?
I think resilience means creating different ways of being. And it's just wild being able how you can bounce back and developing because it can be developed, right? It doesn't have to be something innate in your resilience, but it's how are you creating that environment? What are you working with? Whether it's taking a bad dish that you made and making it resilient. I'll give you an example. I had a large group of people. My daughter brought her friends over for dinner, and I was trying to make a rice dish, and it did not come out the way I wanted to. And it was mush and it was disgusting. I was like, what the heck? And I'm like, okay, I got to be resilient here. I've got 15 people at the dinner table tonight. What am I going to do with this rice dish? So I took it and I baked it. I baked it to crisp it. And I served it and didn't think about it. And people loved it. Again, that resilience thing. How do I turn this environment, my dinner, to be spectacular when I knew deep down, I was like, this is horrible. I made a horrible dish, but again, different scenarios. In the boardroom, same scenario. Walking in where your technology is failing, and how the hell am I going to demo this new product when everything is failing? Let's bring in a story. Let's bring in a story. And you have the executive team sitting there going, well, technology's not working today, so let's move it. Creating a different environment. We are creative beings. We can do it.
That's such a great answer. What are your practices of resilience? I mean, we talked about many different things that you
Mhm.
do from a holistic perspective, but I'm just curious if there's anything else that you want to add on top of that.
Mm. So in my world, for resilience, I think meditation is huge. I spend a lot of time in meditation, prayer, contemplation. One of the biggest thing is silence. In my last quarterly newsletter, I actually wrote a whole thing about silence and taking that opportunity to be silent, honoring silence. No radio, no music, no scroll, nothing. Just silent. You can do a cup of coffee, whatever, but that silence. It could be in the car, you're having to drive, silent, driving silently, just sitting and just not reading it, just having, and that for me, silence, opportunities of silence is resilient, brings me back. Okay, I can move on with my day and do all the different things because with the fire horse, it's just crazy right now. It's affected me energetically because one thing you have to remember is bringing yourself back to balance and coming back to your rhythm is also another form of resilience because you can't function otherwise.
This might sound like a little bit of a repeat question. Maybe it's a little bit redundant, but I'm just wondering how these practices of resilience benefit you.
No, that's a very good question. Benefiting me, and I can be as I'm grounded, going again, resilience, also grounding myself back to where I should be, try to be, anyways, and I can be my best self, the best version of myself. Because if these practices don't help, I can't be the best version of myself to my family, to my friends, to my clients, as a practitioner, to other colleagues, to come as a best version of myself.
How can people reach you if they want to connect with you?
They can go on social media, they can go to my website. So my full handle is Pure Life Healing, and my website is purelifehealing.ca. You can reach me on email at carla@purelifehealing.ca and DM me through Instagram or Facebook. I'm happy to respond to any of your questions or concerns.
Carla Affe is a holistic practitioner and owner of Pure Life Healing. Carla, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your insights, talking about energy, spirituality, elevating consciousness, all of the things that we should be doing right now as human beings, as sentient beings on this planet. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been such a wonderful experience.
Thank you for listening to The Stumbling Spirit, Contemplations on the Path of Resilience. This is Fabio da Silva Fernandez. Join me again for another episode of transformative stories and beneficial practices to guide you on your wellness journey. If you wish, you can follow and DM me on Blue Sky at thestumblingspirit.bsky mindfulness.social. Until next time, take a deep breath and another step forward on your path of resilience.